Welcome to Metro Talk. I'm Kent Shuffle. Thanks for being with us. Pat Gowan, one of the editors with the Post-Dispatch, is here. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, Kent.
And Jim Schrader, the publisher of the Telegraph, is alongside. Welcome, Jim.
I guess.
Jim, we're taping on Tuesday, and just about an hour ago, 2 hours ago, Congressman Jerry Costello announced that he is not planning to run for re-election. Caught everybody by surprise. What's next?
Well, if we've talked about so many times on this program, it takes a special type of person really to run for political office. It's not an easy job, and it is a thankless job. Congressman Costello, or I consider him a friend, so I'm going to go ahead and call him Jerry. Jerry Costello was appointed in 1988 to fill the the uncompleted term of Mel Price. So he has served in the Congress for 23 years. He's 62 years old. I would say, and having never been one, but just observing the scrutiny that elected officials are going through right now, and especially in a difficult economy, I certainly wouldn't want his job. If he were a TV show, Congress would be canceled right now because the approval ratings are so low. Of Congress and the office of the president. The approval ratings are terrible. Plus we're getting ready to adopt a new redistricting map. So Congressman Costello's footprint is actually expanding from where he is right now and changing somewhat. If I was 62, I had 23 years in, and could afford to, live on the pension and my wife's salary from running the college, I'd be tempted to say, you know what, I'm done with this too. So, does it surprise me? Yeah, it does surprise me. Am I a little bit concerned? I am a little concerned because Jerry has done a great job for this area. There have been lots of things that have been completed in this area thanks to some of the clout that Jerry had in Washington, D.C. And I personally will miss him, but I understand and I don't blame him. So congratulations to him. You go out on top, you don't go out in defeat, and good for him.
Pat, we're taping on Tuesday. Congressman Costello announced just a couple of hours ago that he's not running for re-election. What happens now?
Well, it's a very good question because that district has only had 2 congressmen in 67 years. If for you to have voted successfully for anyone except Mel Price or Jerry Costello, you'd have to be 88 years old. That's a tremendous. Dynasty is probably the wrong word because Costello and Price were not exactly joined at the hip. In fact, the Costello made enemies of the Price people when he tried to move in too early on Mel Price, who'd served 22 terms and was terribly infirm at the time that he finally died in office. And so there was bad blood between the Prices and the Costellos. But that notwithstanding, there's been a lot of continuity. They both were strong in constituent services. They were both moderate Democrats who maybe in another place could just as well have been moderate Republicans. It's a very stable district in terms of its political leanings. It's been a very stable representation they provided. While Price was the chair of the House Armed Services Committee, and Costello certainly has earned some strong committee assignments. Both of them were really better known for constituent services at home than trying to be the grand statesman. Sort of like Alan Dixon and Paul Simon from Metro East when both were in the Senate at the same time. Simon was sort of the grand statesman, and Dixon was the guy who was shoveling the load for the district. And these guys were more shovelers than statesman types. The district got used to that, was very comfortable with it. It certainly was helpful. It was helpful in protecting Scott Air Force Base. So a lot of questions thrown open here. Whoever's going to be a congressman for this district is not going to be someone that the people know anywhere near as well as they knew these guys, and that's going to be a quantum change. I think in the confidence factor and knowing what they're going to do, and maybe them having their finger, the new congressman, I mean, having a finger on the pulse of the people who have come to expect almost a almost an automatic connection. I think the people who dealt with Costello, as they had with Price, knew what to expect. He knew them very well. He knew what they needed. There was not necessarily a lot of communication going back and forth. I don't know what Costello's ultimate aspirations might have been. He was sidetracked somewhat by the investigation of his friend Emil Quito in a case in which Costello was named as an unindicted co-conspirator who did not necessarily do anything wrong, and that probably stunted some of his potentials for statewide office. Maybe congressional leadership as well. I don't know where he's going to go now. I don't know where he would have gone if it hadn't been for that. I do know there can't be any joy in being a member of Congress of the United States right now, and there doesn't seem to be any exit strategy. Until the economy straightens itself out, there's not a lot that Congress is going to be able to do about it. There isn't as much money to spread around as there used to be for constituent services. The travel is onerous. His wife has a full-time career as president of Southwestern Illinois College. I looked at his announcement today and kind of shrugged and thought, well, yeah, that probably actually makes better sense than running again.
I suspect the phones are ringing all over the district because we have 3 announced Republican candidates right now for that seat. I'm sure the phones are ringing all over playing what if. Right now.
Well, and you've both alluded to it. Who are the likely candidates? Or is it too early to speculate?
I think this caught everybody by surprise. I don't know that you have a Democratic candidate at this point.
Mark Curran, chairman of the county board in St. Clair County, who in fact holds the job that Costello held when he got the congressional post. I would think Curran would be a strong contender if he wants it. There's been talk of Brandon Kelly, the new state's attorney in St. Clair County, but he's brand new to that job, having recently taken over from Bob Hayda. And I don't think he's got enough of a profile yet. He may be a strong contender down the line, but he's probably not fully steeped yet. And with the complexion of the district becoming maybe a bit more conservative than it once was, perhaps a Republican would have a shot in a way that has not occurred in all these years. Costello won the special election in 1988 after Price died. He won it, as I recall, by about 1,000 votes over Bob Gaffner. It was a razor-thin margin. Gaffner went on to challenge him repeatedly as a Republican in subsequent general elections, and Costello kept pulling away from him. And actually, after that, Costello never had another close race, including the time Mel Price's son, a physician, ran against him. And people thought, well, that might cause him problems, but it never did.
We need to take a break. We'll have more right after this.
Hi, I'm Audrey Lucchese, and I'm from Alton, Illinois.
Tim.
I love music, and that's why I came to Lewis & Clark. It's been an amazing experience here at Lewis & Clark, working with students that are so talented, coming from all over the area, and they work so hard to follow their dreams. The music faculty at Lewis & Clark they're fantastic, and they're there every step of the way to push you to follow your dreams. One of the unique opportunities that I have had at Lewis & Clark is being able to record my own music with a fellow student here. Being able to record our music has opened doors for us in the music industry. My long-term goal is to finish here at Lewis & Clark and then to transfer to a 4-year school and finish my degree in music performance. I would recommend Lewis & Clark to another student because it is definitely a great place to get started and it can open so many doors for you.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
This is Metro Talk. I'm Kent Scheffel. Jim Schrader and Pat Gowan are here. Pat, we've talked a lot about the new legislative maps, the new congressional maps, and have made references to them on several occasions as to whether or not they'll stand the legal challenges. The one thing we haven't done is actually looked at the maps to see if they're drawn fairly. So if we can get the legislative map up, and any comments you might have on that map as far as whether it was drawn in a fair manner, whether or not it looks like it represents all of the districts well.
Our monitors are high above the cameras, so when we're looking up in the air, it's not out of indifference.
He's looking for divine inspiration.
What I'm seeing is a DNA pattern of a duck. No, I'm sorry. It is a series of compact and contiguous districts for the efficient election of...
and so saith the Constitution.
Yeah, that was a good definition. Very good definition.
Of course they're silly. They look like... Rorschach blots probably wouldn't be a good description. They look... My 4-year-old nephew draws interesting patterns on a piece of paper. Looks something like this. Probably, maybe he drew this one for all I can tell. That fight has been fought so many times by both parties that no, it's not fair to draw these districts to protect people or to punish people or to get an advantage in one district or another. Both parties have done it. They've always done it. This could be done by a computer, could be done very effectively by a computer. Nobody really wants that because then they might actually be compacted, contiguous, and fair in some way. And of course, somebody would have to program the computer, so would that be a Republican or a Democrat? Who knows? There is no really perfect way of doing this. And when you look at the way these districts are configured, the truth is it's kind of a wonder that government works as well as it does. Now, lately, that's kind of a
Risky statement.
thin area of the ice to tread out upon. But if you put a gun to my head and said, how much different would our government be if the districts could in fact be achieved in some fair and contiguous manner? I have no particular faith that things would be any different from the way they are now. So it looks stupid, it feels stupid, but as a real impact on the voters and the way the government's run, I doubt it makes a lot of difference.
Jim, we've talked about the legislative map in the past. When we actually take a look at the map, does it look like it was drawn in a fair manner?
If you were a member of the Democratic Party, the party that drew that map, it looks very fair because you're the party in power and you're the one that gets to draw the lines. If you look at some of those districts, the way they ramble on and around and across multiple counties, there's the 18th Congressional District there, the Senate District, that starts at the Mississippi River and goes well to the east of the center of the state as it rambles around, losing track of the county there. This thing is just, it's all over the map. The 13th is the same way and actually goes even farther east than the 18th. It rambles on and around.
The 13th looks odd when you have that little finger dropping down out of it.
You mean that little finger that drops out so that you pick up Shimkus's house, is if I remember correctly.
I thought that was a faucet.
Yeah, it does appear to be a faucet. I think that was the area that they were concerned about John Shimkus being.
Well, that would be the thing sticking down.
That's
right
the
out
thing
the bottom.
sticking down
Yeah.
into right out of Madison
that
County
that
goes down to the St. Clair County line. If you can see it there, that extension was a negotiation. John Shimkus was going to be drawn out of his district.
He only lives a few hundred yards, I guess, into Madison County.
He lives just north of the St. Clair County line. So if they had not made that adjustment, John Shimkus either would have been drawn out of his own district or he would have had to move to what will be the new 13th. Is it fair? It's fair to the party in power at the time because there's always going to be little tweaks. Using, as Pat said, this could be done by a computer with GPS mapping technology, probably something as much as one of our smartphones could probably figure out pretty well if you're just dividing the population. But then you get the special interest groups in that want to make sure that we have adequate Hispanic representation or adequate African American representation or an adequate mix between rural and suburban. You get all of those things in there, And frankly, when the Democrats are redrawing the map when they are in power, or when the Republicans are drawing the map when they are in power, there's also kind of a wink and a little nod as to how can we draw this where our party's candidate will have the slightest bit of edge. I'm not sure that these ultimately are going to fly. I think there's still a possibility of facing a court challenge. I don't know the status of that as yet, but neither side is probably ever going to be 100% satisfied. If you drew it, I don't like it, or if I drew it, you don't like it, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Pat, you mentioned John Shimkus. Are you surprised by the amount of land his new district will cover?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I remember when, I think it was Pritchard had the Southwestern District of Illinois at a time when Illinois had, I think, 21 seats in the Congress of the United States, and a fourth of the land area of Illinois was in Pritchard's district. He essentially carved out the whole southeastern corner of the state, the southeastern quarter of the state. I say he did. I'm sure he didn't want that. So they're not only funny in shape. Some of them are huge and require a lot of constituent weave together very diverse constituents. You know, Metro East would fit in one congressional district where they about 700,000 people, so we could put everybody in one place. If it was a good idea, and maybe it's not, we end up split usually into like as many as 3 congressional districts. Are we better off to have 3 separate congressmen looking after regional interests, but each one maybe not as totally invested, or would we be better off to have one congressman whose bread and butter rests with the health of a particular homogeneous region? I don't even know what the answer to that is, but I don't think that the way these things are drawn is necessarily given any thought to what's best for the people who live there.
Jim, do you like the fact that there are now, or will, potentially, 3 congressmen from Madison County?
It doesn't surprise me. It's not new. It has happened before. The little pieces carved out here and there. You know, if you look at as we do in our business, for example, or as the Post-Dispatch says, when you look at trade areas where people tend a certain direction to shop, or a certain direction for schools or services, that would seem to be a logical way to divide this up too. That's not necessarily the truth at all in the way these things gerrymander around. So it is what it is. We'll see if it stands up to the court fight or if it gets tweaked again, or stay tuned and we're going to redo it again in 10 years anyway.
We need to take another break. We'll have more Metro Talk in a moment.
Hello and welcome to the Lewis and Clark Minute. Today we're going to check out the radio broadcasting program in WLCA with Mike Lemons.
Have you ever listened to your favorite radio station or your favorite disc jockey and say, you know, I could do that? Or maybe you're the type of person who says, I could never do something like that. Well, with the help of first-year Mass Comm student John, we're going to show you just how easy it is. Each voice intro starts with talking about the band that just played, and we add a station identifier. Next, you want to offer some information that may be of interest to your audience. And finally, tell the listeners what the next song is, who sings it, followed by another station identifier. John will do one live now.
Solar Sun pickup substitution on WLCA. The Big Pink released their debut album called A Brief History of Love. The single is off that album. It's The Big Pink with Domino. It's on College Radio's Best 89.9.
This has been your Lewis and Clark Minute.
What's that? I don't know. Something I kind of made. Ooh, what's it do?
What do I do? Well, thanks for asking. I ring my bell and I like to dance. What do I do? Well, thanks for asking.
Ow! Yeah, it still needs a little work.
Anything's possible. Keep thinking. Get started on your own inventions or just play some games at inventnow.org.
Sounds like you could use some Van Gogurt. It's fortified with arch-rich nutrients to improve your math and reading skills. Catch!
Van Gogurt, thanks. So what's the deal with your ear?
Always with the ear, huh?
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
This is Metro Talk. I'm Ken Scheffel. Jim Schrader's here. Pat Gowan's here. Jim, the corruption trial of William Salini began Monday. A lot of people probably have never heard of William Salini, but how big is his trial going to be in Illinois political circles?
How big the trial is going to be kind of remains to be seen, but when it was indicated we were going to talk about this guy today, I thought, you know what, I don't know a whole lot of background about this guy other than, you know, his later years and the indictment. He has a couple of interesting nicknames, King of Clout and Pope of Politics, which I thought were pretty interesting. He is from Springfield, born and raised. He's 76 years old. His father was a 30-year cop in Springfield. They came from modest means. His mom took in laundry and, you know, worked part-time at a family restaurant. He was a professional musician. He toured Central Illinois playing big bands, and that's how he paid his way through college. So no silver spoon here. But here's a guy that, shall we say, is a political survivor. He was the youngest man ever elected to city council in Springfield. Governor Ogilvie appointed him to be the director of public works and buildings for the state of Illinois. He also taught school at the same time. Later on, in '72, he was the first secretary of the Illinois Department of Transportation, appointed by Congress, not a gubernatorial contract or appointment, but the Senate elected him. A long business career, founded several businesses, all the time maintaining very close contacts and sometimes lucrative contracts with the state of Illinois. He owned asphalt business. He's still the president of that organization, statewide organization. How he kind of really came as a big player around here in the very early 90s, and then successfully in 1991, William Salini and 10 others successfully came up with the first casino license in the state of Illinois that they paid $85,000 for, and not too many years afterwards they formed Argosy Gaming, and William Salini was the chairman of the board of Argosy, and at that time that $85,000 investment was then worth $500 million. So not a bad return on his investment. He is indicted for allegedly taking part in a shakedown of Thomas Rosenberg, which was the producer of a movie, $1 Million Baby, I think was the name of the movie. That was the only count that, and I'm forgetting the guy's name that was charged with that as well, but was not found guilty. Resco was not found guilty of that complaint, or was that charge, which may prove interesting in the Salini case that he may not be found guilty as well. This guy is a political mover and shaker, plays behind the scenes, shakes the right hands depending, and it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, he plays well with both sides. He's a multimillionaire, and by all accounts, it will be interesting to see if there's enough to make the prosecution stick and to make this charge stick when obviously it didn't on Tony Resco.
Pat, the trial of William Salini is underway. Many people have not heard of William Salini. How big is this trial?
Well, if someone claims to know something about Illinois politics, you ask him who Bill Salini is. If he doesn't know, then he's full of bunk. Salini is a strong behind-the-scenes player, has been at the nexus of politics and money for 40 years in Illinois, and it didn't matter whose money. He's been a Republican, but he plays well with Democrats, as Jim said. It was a remarkable coalition of Republicans and Democrats who got the license for the Alton Bell. They had Theoretically, every potential skid was greased by one of them. They covered all the political bases together in the name of making money. He's very good at being where money and politics come together. That is a high voltage operation. And once in a while, if you stand too close to a high voltage operation, you can get a stray shock. I think that's what's happened in this case. Again, he was in the nexus of money and power. The issue here was trying to get a campaign contribution for Blagojevich in exchange for making sure that the right company got a contract to manage some of the teachers' retirement system assets. That's the accusation, that he was helping essentially hold the contract hostage for campaign contributions for Blagojevich. Maybe the most disappointing aspect of this was that a guy with Salini's credentials would end up accused of consorting with the likes of Blagojevich, who, if there's anybody in state government that should have known to walk a wide path around Blagojevich, Salini was in the perfect position to know how. He knew everybody, he knew how it all worked. You know, you would look at the connections on that electrical panel and say, I'm not going to get close to it. And maybe he didn't. Maybe the jury will find that this is just, so much smoke, and when it clears that he wasn't really part of that circuit at all. But, and a fascinating guy, Jim didn't mention the fact that he's also co-inventor of a shower rod that expands the use of tub space. This is a guy of many interests, but he started out in public life as a public official in Springfield, but then sort of went subterranean, became very politically powerful as one of those behind-the-scenes kind of guys. There's nobody left from elective office from the 1970s and the 1980s in Illinois. They've all run their course and gone, but Bill Salini is still there, which shows that maybe in terms of putting the money and the politics together, that might be the better choice, depending on the outcome of the trial.
Jim, the $10 billion Philip Morris lawsuit that had started in Madison County has now been returned to Madison County by the Supreme Court. Are we going to see this case end anytime soon?
I don't know, but maybe we can build another building from the interest that we generate on the appeal bond. It's back. It's the case that never goes away. If people don't understand what I'm laughing about there, is when that case was adjudicated in Madison County, Philip Morris lost the case, and the judgment against them was $13.1 billion. When they said that they were going to appeal that case, as is normal, they had to put up what is called an appeal bond. And Madison County held that appeal bond and was able to collect interest on that appeal bond while this wound around and through the appeal system. The interest on that $13.1 billion judgment is what built the new Madison County office building right across from the courthouse in Edwardsville. And I suspect we're not done with this case yet. I still don't totally understand how the case went against Philip Morris when they were doing what everybody else was doing at the same time.
Pat, we going to see this case end anytime soon?
8 years into the case, and now essentially we're coming back to the point where it might have begin a fresh trial as though it were new. We'll be talking about this one for years.
That's going to do it for this round of Metro Talk. Thanks for being with us. Jim Schrader, the publisher of The Telegraph, has been here, along with Pat Gowan from the Post-Dispatch. I'm Ken Scheffel. We'll see you next time.